Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name's Pizza Yeti, and today we're talking about my favorite controller, the 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus. Let's get into it. So, the SN30 Pro Plus was released by 8BitDo a couple years ago, and I initially picked it up to use with my Nintendo Switch, because what's great about this controller is that it can be used wirelessly with the Nintendo Switch without needing an extra dongle. At the time, I was using the Pro controller and the Joy-Cons when necessary, but I really don't find the Joy-Cons to be comfortable at all, and I wanted the option when I had friends playing with me for them to not have to use the Joy-Cons, so I was looking into a secondary option that could be used wirelessly, was at least a little bit cheaper than buying a second Pro controller, and had the option to be used on different systems. And the 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus definitely seemed to tick all of those boxes. I had already purchased one of the PowerA wired controllers in one of the Zelda designs, and while the controller was fine, it definitely didn't feel like it was built super well, and as of right now it doesn't actually work anymore, so I can't say that that was a good investment, at least for me. It may work for other people, but the cable didn't always connect super well, and it always made me a little bit nervous having like a 10-foot cable hooked up to the Switch, because it's so light even when the Switch is docked, that it always made me a little bit nervous that we were gonna like pull the whole Switch off of the media console that we were using. And so I definitely was looking into more wireless options that, like I said earlier, could potentially be used with a future PC or with maybe my phone if I was going to get into mobile games. And so that's when I was kind of looking into the 8BitDo controllers. So what's great is, like I was telling y'all earlier, the controller does connect with my Switch wirelessly. It actually uses, I guess, a similar setting to how the Pro controller connects. It connects to my phone, although admittedly I don't really play a lot of mobile games that would need a controller attached. I've been looking into maybe playing some more games on my iPad that I could use this controller for, but I haven't really tested that out, and so I can't speak to that. 8BitDo does make a holder for your phone, and so you can clip it onto the controller and have your phone sitting on it, so while you're holding it, you can actually just like have the phone connected to the controller. I tried it out when I got my second 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus, but I did think that after a while it would probably get kind of tiring to hold the whole controller and phone like that, especially if your phone is on the bigger side. So I used the Galaxy S10 Plus, and it was just a little bit heavy and kind of unbalanced while I was holding it with the phone on the controller, and so it might be a little bit tiring for your wrist after long periods of time. This controller costs around $50 USD, and I think that that's a fair price for all that it can do. It has Rumble. We'll get into this a little bit later in the video, but the software that comes with it actually makes the controller really customizable. The colorways that it comes in are pretty fun. I got the SNES colorway to start off with, and now I have the all black controller. And the fact that it can connect with so many different systems really just makes me feel like this is a worthwhile investment for around $50. Although I think that it does go on sale every so often, and so if you're looking for maybe a cheaper way to get your hands on this controller, you could wait for a sale. Overall, the controller is really comfortable. It's what I reach to first when I'm looking to play games on my PC. I haven't fully shifted into playing mouse and keyboard all the time, although I am getting a little bit better at that. I'm waiting for a keyboard from Keychron to come in to maybe shift more into that. But when I'm at my computer and I maybe don't want to have to be seated upright and I just want to kick back and play some games, this is definitely the controller that I reach towards for that. Because it's not a very heavy controller, I also lean towards it over my Nintendo Switch Pro controller at times, because it's just a little bit lighter in my hands and I like the way that the buttons feel a little bit more than I do on the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So the controller is wireless, but you do have the option to connect it wired to your computer if you need a lower latency, and that's actually how you can get into using the ultimate software, as 8BitDo calls it, to customize your controller. You would need to connect it wired to your computer to kind of make the controller fit the way that you play games. But if you're going that route, I would definitely recommend picking up a different USB-C cable. The one that it comes with is a little bit short and pretty stiff, and so it might not lend itself to playing games wired on your computer as much as other USB-C cables would. I know I just recently got one with the Ponage Ultra Custom Wireless. If you want to see my review, you can this side. It'll be up in this corner or this corner. I don't remember. And you can see how I kind of felt about that. The cable that comes with that mouse, I think, is a lot more flexible when I'm using it, and so it definitely lends itself better to having a wired connection using a cable similar to that one. The controller also has rumble, which is something that I was pretty excited about because I feel like you don't see that on all wireless controllers that maybe aren't made by the bigger name brands. And so I really like having rumble because it makes the fishing easier in Stardew Valley and Hades, and I'm a fan. I really like the fishing in both of those games, but having like the controller cue on when a fish is about to bite is definitely really helpful. 8BitDo lists the battery as lasting for about 20 hours. I'd say that that's usually about how much time I can get on the controller. I don't have to charge it super often, but I'm often not having like really long gaming sessions when I'm using that controller. So I would say the downside is that the controller does take about 4 hours to get a full charge. That's a little bit long to me given that it does charge via USB-C, but as long as you remember to like top it off every so often, you shouldn't have any problems. And if you need to play with it while you're maybe charging it, you can connect it wired to your computer and continue using the controller. Now, just a reminder for the wireless, it is via a Bluetooth connection, and so for games where you maybe need some lower latency, definitely play with it wired. The controller was definitely intended to play with classic or like indie games that maybe are not as dependent on low latency, and so that is something to keep an eye on. If you're looking for a controller that's gonna be like really quick and really low latency, you would probably have to play with this wired. I don't play a lot of games that require low latency. It's just not really what I'm interested in on my PC. So I will say my favorite part of this controller, and the piece that I probably take the least advantage of, is the software that you can download to use with it. And so 8BitDo has created this program called Ultimate Software that allows you to almost fully customize how the controller reacts. So in that, you can customize the button mapping, set up macros, you can kind of adjust when the triggers activate. So if you want to be able to react quicker, you can turn down or you can adjust how the triggers react. You can change how strong or even turn off the vibration on the controller. If you think that it's an annoying part of game controllers, you can just fully turn that off in the software. You can change the range of the sticks to maybe customize how you prefer to play with the joysticks. And I just think that it's really cool that they offer this level of customization for a controller that is usually around $50. I think that it's honestly kind of wild how much you can do with this software. You can also set up different profiles for the controller, and what's nice about this is that 8BitDo does actually section off the different systems that you can use this with. And so when you open up the software, you'll be able to select if you are using Windows, the Nintendo Switch, or I think they have it listed as Android, but that's mostly the mobile setting. And you can actually create different profiles within these different categories to fit the games that you are playing. So if you maybe want a specific kind of controller setup for one game, you can set up the profile to match that, and then just have like standard ones for most other games that you play, which I think is really cool and a nice touch, and something that I don't really think that 8BitDo had to do, but it is something that I appreciate that they did. I have definitely taken advantage of this software on games for PC that maybe don't allow you to change up the button mapping in the game, and so I've definitely found workarounds with the Ultimate software that will allow me to customize the button mapping for that particular game so that I can play in the way that is most comfortable for me even if the game maybe doesn't allow that within the in-game settings. So it is a great way to get around that. If that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely recommend picking up one of these controllers. I will say something to note is that I noticed that the new controller, I just got a second one for Christmas from some family members in the all black colorway. It would not connect to my Nintendo Switch. I'm not sure if something had changed since the SNES, or if there's something different in the SNES controller versus the all black controller, but even following the directions that 8BitDo offers, the controller would not connect to my Nintendo Switch. And so I would continue to look into that moving forward if you're interested in using this controller as maybe your primary controller for the Switch. The all black colorway, I could not, no matter what I tried, get it to connect to that Nintendo Switch, even after following all the instructions that 8BitDo provides. Hopefully there will be some sort of update on that moving forward, but as of right now, it still won't connect. For those of you who are maybe looking into closer to a budget pick and you already have a controller that you really like using, 8BitDo also offers a wireless dongle that you can connect to the Switch, your PC, your Mac, and I think Raspberry Pis, and maybe some other options similar to that. But if you are looking for a more budget option than buying an entirely new controller, I would recommend picking up that wireless adapter that 8BitDo produces, because it allows you the opportunity to use the controllers that you already have and not have to completely invest in a new controller. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts about the 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus. I have had the controller for a couple of years now, and I continue to reach for it when I'm playing games. It's a controller that I'm glad that I made the investment in. I like the features that it has. If you want to come through and hang out live, we're at twitch.tv/pizza_yeti. You can come and ask questions about tech, just kind of enjoy the games that we're playing over on the channel. I hope to see y'all there. I hope y'all have a good day. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.